So zero to hero, momentum makers, momentum creators. Let's go.
Nanotech isn't building the next social app, dating platform, or AI that writes your email. It's doing something way cooler, playing with particles so small, even your microscope needs a motivational speech to see them. Co-founded by Andrea Giovannelli, Nanotech is the place where science fiction casually becomes science fact, without anyone accidentally blowing up the lab, we hope. Nanotech is over here manipulating matters at a molecular level because why not? It's tiny, it's technical, and it's totally messing with our sense of scale. Basically, it's the startup equivalent of magic, but nerdier, and we love that. Thank you, Andrea. We are really looking forward to hear all about this company from you.
Thank you, Eric. I'm glad.
So let's start from the beginning. What inspired you to co-found Nanotech? And was it like a wow moment or more like it's just like that you actually like atoms?
No, it was like a wow moment. I was a child and I always dreamed not to just work for someone else. I was always doing something, inventing something, or selling something, even at school. And when I went to the university, I started mechanical engineering. I started to be in love also with materials and material science. But why? Because materials even given names to the ages, Stone Ages, Bronze Ages, Iron Age. So materials define what you can do with your technology and imagination. You can think about Leonardo da Vinci. Probably he drove down the first helicopter, but was not possible to do it because there were not lightweight and strong material and high energy output engine in order to make something fly, and something that happened hundreds years after. So I did mechanical engineering and started to do also regatta with friends, with sailing boat, and also their material were very important, material of the sails, the material of the hull, and so on. And then we started to think about to bring something new in this field, but not only in this field, in general, in the field of engineering. So it can be a racing car, can be sailboat, can be airplane, can be anything that use material. And then at that time, I was coming back from a trip that I had with one of my best friends because we wanted to start a business in renewable energy. But at that time, I'm speaking more than probably 20 years ago or something like that, probably 15, 20 years ago. In Italy, there were almost no venture capitalists who was like advising us, told us we were without any experience, told us, okay, you have to go to a bank. So a very traditional way of being funded by someone. And we received all negative feedback because the business plan was good, the business model was working, but we were no one. We were just young people at university with an idea, and actually was an idea that other people makes even bigger, and someone makes a big success with his idea. So when I was coming back, I started to see that nanotechnology, carbon nanotubes, and graphene was starting to gain momentum. And because of my experience in sport, where 1 kilogram of weight can be the difference between winning and losing, and so on, I started to say, can be a good idea to start working with material and nanotechnology in order to give to the customers the best material for the hardest challenges. This became the motto of our company later. I had to put it in the a bit aside because I had to study also. But then I will tell you later how we started the business.
How old were you at that point when you kind of asked to the first bank the money to build your own startup?
I was probably 22, 23 years old.
Wow,
In Italy, it's very young.
It's crazy young. And if you don't mind, what year are we talking about?
What, sorry?
Year are we talking about? Because I think it really
We
matters
were
in a
talking
sense.
about probably 2008, something like that.
Yeah. So probably like the startup world in Italy didn't even exist yet
Yes,
at
exactly.
all, right?
Yes,
Because I feel
exactly.
like Italy is growing. It's actually slightly growing as an ecosystem for startup nowadays. So it's
Yes.
still everything in the making. It's really changing lately, but I cannot even imagine in 2008 you, and I think it's your brother that is your
At the time
co-founder
was one of my best friend. Then Nanotech, we founded it with my brother and
with your brother.
some other friends. Yes.
Okay, so I cannot even imagine like how brave and bold were you to actually show up and talk to a bank about this project at the time.
I always been, how I can say, let's say self-confident, but just because my family teach me that if you want to do something, you have to try to do something. At least you say, I tried. Then you
Yeah, of
can
course.
even not succeed. And also the sport of sailing and karate, I practiced it for a very long time, teached me that you have to try to your best. You can fail. I even learned how to fail, but not to go in a depression because of this. And so I had an idea. I just started to say, okay, I want to do this. Where I have to start? What I have to do? And then I start.
That's impressive, really. Would you say that, for example, doing sports can actually help to build the qualities of the new startup founders? Or would you say there is a connection between your, let's say, sport involvement and then the founding of the startup?
They are not totally correlated. About being entrepreneur is something you have inside because unfortunately nobody is teaching you at school that you can also do something by yourself. At school they teach you have to study, you have to get a job,
Become an
entering a big
employee?
company, becoming employee of a good company, and that's it. Nobody, this is something I would like even to work with, to teach students that they can do something different. Now it's already a bit different because there are a lot of businesses related to ICT. But in the past was something very few students were thinking about, oh, I want to do something mine. I want to found a company. And I was thinking about this from when I was a child. I want to do something. I want to get up in the morning and say, I really love what I'm doing. And so this was my drive all my life. It's still my drive. The sports has helped me a lot because the sports means staying with other people, deal with other people, follow rules, win, lose, improve yourself. And I
Discipline.
think sales and also martial arts helped me a lot because martial arts you are doing with other people, but in the end you are alone when you are doing the performance, when you are doing the kata or you are doing the fight, the kumite, you are alone. You are alone against yourself. You can be a bit better, a bit worse than your opponents, but it's you. You have to don't make mistake. You have to do everything at your best, and also the value of the sports because even in a karate or in sailing, if I was touched by someone, I can say better than me. I was saying, oh, you are good. I'll be more, I'll pay more attention next. Or when you are sailing, and for example, one weekend, someone is missing in the other crew. There were someone of us saying, okay, I can go in the other crew. And you were doing your best even to beat your crew. But in the end, you were going to eat together. And it's a beautiful sport because there is no violence at all. Even in karate, is much less violent than soccer or other sports that you can see regularly on television. You can heard about in the newspaper that something bad happened after the match.
I think that what it really is beautiful about what you're describing, Andrea, I think, is that you have a grow mindset, and because as you said, it's not important. It's not important if you fail at something. The most important thing is that you are actually trying, and you're trying to improve yourself. Like even in karate, maybe you can be better than others, but you are against yourself. You're about improving yourself. And I think that what makes the whole difference in life, but also in business, and what makes probably successful entrepreneurs. So I want to ask you, you actually started working in a management consulting company and you lasted a while, a little bit, like kind of 3 years, more or less. So how was that experience? And did you take that time to actually also think more about the fact that you wanted to become an entrepreneur? Like that time to actually think about the ideas that you could have started with to build
Yes,
your
in
company?
reality, was a bit hybrid time because I was doing a consultancy just after I was doing a master in general management. So I was at its business school. When I was finishing the business school, I already was writing the business plan of Nanotech, of this business plan competition. Then one of my friends that is also one of the, let's say, founder of the company, because he helped us, because he was already an entrepreneur, he called me and said, Andrea, you it was the period after the crisis of 2008 that hit Italy heavily in 2011. And so its company, as a lot of other companies, was a bit in trouble because uh, works went down, people, other company were not paying, so there was also a debt credit issue between companies and so on. And said to me, you started all those things, come to help me to, let's say, turn around a bit the company. And so I went there and started to apply what I studied at this business school. And in the meanwhile, I was I was writing down the business plan with the other friends in order to participate in this business plan competition. And that was the moment where I went I went into reality of doing business, of all the problem related in doing business, how to deal with the customer, how to get paid from customer, what you can ask, what you cannot ask, how to deal with a company that is having difficulties because of the economic period. And we together, I started with him, then he went forward alone, but we were always in touch and giving advice each other. The company now is very successful company, the company of these friends, and was a very, very valuable experience for me.
Wow, and Andrea, do you have other examples? For example, when you were young and you were still deciding what to do in your life that pushed you to become a founder of a company? For example, many people they have examples in their family, right? It can be directly their parents, or for example, their uncles or even grandparents. Did you have such examples in your family as well, or you are the first one that really started it?
I can say my family, especially from my father's side, has always been a family of entrepreneur, but not entrepreneur as we know
Today?
today.
Yeah,
So
more the
not
classical
entrepreneur
ones.
with the company, with the office, and so on. Because my grandfather and the grandfather of my grandfather, they were in, let's say, commercial business. At that time, when train were very few or even no one, when you have to ship everything's around with the ship.
Yes.
They were running their company that were selling products around the Mediterranean Sea. Products were going even in USA in the past. It's a little town in South Italy that was very famous for its oranges, lemons, olive oil, and so on. And they were buying and selling those products. They were even navigating with their sailing ship and going around, for example, in Croatia or Zara. in Italy, Trieste, Ancona. They were bringing those goods around. Then after the Second World War, everything went down a lot because there was almost anything. Everything had to have been built up again. The money were heavily, I can say, depreciated at that time. So everything was built up between the 80s and 19th century. Was literally anything left. They had to start from zero. My father is entrepreneur in the sense that he was a photographer. So he had this little activity. He was enjoying, he's still enjoying. He's almost 80 years old. He's still buying some camera, going around doing picture, driving his drone around to do picture.
I love it.
So we have always been, I can say, stimulated by this environment, by what my grandfather was telling us about all the history of the trip around the world he did and so on.
Wow, and he's now probably even more stimulated by his own sons, right? That he sees progressing and growing and improving every day. So of course he wants to stay at the same path, right? With the technology and with everything. And Andrea, would you explain to us a little bit more, for example, for the listeners who didn't study material science, what actually nanotech does? Like if you can give us maybe some real life examples.
Yes, of course.
How would you explain it?
It's not always very easy to explain a company that is in the material, advanced composite material business, because not everyone knows about polymers, carbon fiber, and so on. But I'll try
Yeah.
to.
So I would say the majority of our audience don't have an
Yes.
idea, or I don't have any idea, didn't before reading about your company at least. So yes, please simplify it.
We basically formulate means that we put together chemical blocks of polymers together, not always, but in some cases when it's worth it, with nano materials. We do advanced composite materials and nanomaterial in the sense that we build up the chemical formulation of the polymer. We put inside the nanoparticles if needed. The particles are put inside the polymer. I say put in reality is like dispersed inside the polymers. When the customer wants what is called smart materials. To be much more simpler, the plastic bottle, they are made by polymer.
Yes.
This polymer is usually transparent and very good electrical insulator. When you have to do something that have to conduct electricity because you don't want electrostatic discharge or you want to transmit a signal through the polymer, in the past you had just a few ways. To put in 1 kilogram of plastic, maybe 1 kilogram of iron or 1 kilogram of carbon black, let's say, and makes the material conductive. But the material was weighing much more, was much more fragile, and if you put, for example, iron, and iron would always oxidize, you will lose conductivity over time. What we do with nanoparticle is to select the right nanoparticle that gives the property we wanted, that can be thermal conductivity, electrical conductivity, even vibration damping, and so on. And to put that nanoparticle that gives the advantage that you need to put few grams to have the same effect you have with 1 kilogram of carbon black or iron in 1 kilogram of plastic. You just need 1 to 5 grams of graphene or carbon nanotube. This is why. This is because when you have something, you are touching just the surface that is made of atoms, but all the atoms that are inside, actually, they are just waiting. So you have a weight, but just a little surface where to make chemical bonding or interface between other material. When you reduce this, ideally to the single atoms, you have all the possible surface you can use for your application. So when you make molecules little and little and little, you have this nano effect because the specific surface area becoming bigger and bigger. Then there are all the properties related to the, I can say, lattice of the nanoparticle. But just imagine that the same, you take a stone, the same stone, you cut in half, and then again, until it becomes like a sand. And so if you put in water, the effect you will have in the appearance and viscosity and color will be much different than just to put a stone inside. It's just to try to keep it simple. But about our business model, we do formulate and produce our own material that are typically the material used to make a Formula One car, supercar, airplane, spaceship, and so on. So it's a material that is called, let's say, from the majority of people, is called a carbon fiber or carbon composite. In reality, we do many different kinds because you have different polymers. You have different fiber, can be carbon, and there are hundreds of different carbon fiber, can be glass fiber, can be Kevlar, can be basalt, can be even natural fiber. We are working also on a bio-based polymer. So in the end, what are our customers? And this is a story that is quite nice. Our first little customer has been a little company producing kite surf. The most, I can say, they were like Ferrari of kite surf. They were winning everywhere. Not very well known by most of people, but he started to build it with our nano epoxy resin.
Okay, Andrea, sorry, just to make sure that I understand correctly, and maybe our audience will as well, and correct me if it's not right.
Of course.
So basically, the nanomaterials are able to change the final material behave, like, for example, giving plastic the toughness of the steel or making it conductive like metal, for example. And so by doing that, you actually, the final goal is to improve the quality of the product of your final customers. For example, Formula Uno, as you mentioned before. Is that right? Okay. No, because it is very simple for you probably, but for the rest of us, it's actually very complicated. It's a very complex technology. So how, first of all, how did you get to Formula Uno, first of all? And was there ever a moment when you actually thought, damn, we really made it? Like, Formula Uno is now our client. And tell us more about those first experiences.
Yes, first of all, I'm big passionate about also Formula One and racing because I think it's one of the excellence in racing sports where technology is pushed to the limit. How we do get there is also a funny story. We were studying a polymer with another company because they need the polymer to be very, very resistant to heat. But they had to use the polymer for brakes production. So I don't know if I'm allowed to say names of company or not. You know, carboceramic brakes and some stuff like that use supercar and so on. Then we started to have a contact thanks to one of my associates, one of my first business angels that said, oh, I have a contact in this Formula One teams already. I don't know if I can do a name because 90% of the job I am doing, I write down NDA. I cannot say anything. So
okay, so no, not the one that you wrote the NDA, but the one that are public. We will love to hear.
Yes, so we can say now we serve around 8 of 10 Formula One teams. But the first one was, okay, I have a contact. Let's go there and let's ask what they need. So it was even a bit naive. But we get received from them. And we were inside the room, like 10 of them, all the engineer and so on of Formula One. And we were me and my associate and the friend that has the contact there. We start to talk what we do, and they start to say what they need. And they start to say, we are producing components that are close to brakes, like fire barrier, also close to the engine and so on. And we have to make it by carbon ceramic materials. So very expensive, we don't produce it. We have to send our draw that are very, very secret to them. They have the draw of almost all the Formula One teams. They made the mold, they made the component, and then ship the component to us. We want to change this. And then I think a bit about, I said, give me 1 month, probably I have a solution. Because in that moment, I had the idea, this polymer that needs to be pyrolyzed to become a ceramic material probably has already very good properties, even if you don't, let's say, burn it. Because pyrolysis is the process where you heat a lot of the material and you transform it until it becomes ceramic. And then we did this test with the joint company. And from the result, I said, okay, let's do this, and this test, and let's see what happened. And they called me, they say, fantastic, we have to patent it. And then we did a patent together. I come back to these Formula One teams, and we started to experiment. And then in few months, they said, okay, among all the material around the world we have tested, your is the best for this application. We will use it.
Wow, that's crazy. So you developed the product that was that good that you actually had to patent it straight after.
Yes, yes.
Is that
Because
correct?
we were developing it.
That's crazy.
But,
Yeah.
but thanks to the customer, we find and to this, I can say, like a lamp that switched on in my head,
Yes.
we find even an application that was faster to implement than the original application the material was thought for.
Yes.
So let's
Yeah.
say if the client would never request it for such products, probably you would have never developed it, right?
We were already developing it, but to do another job. Thanks to them,
Okay.
we kind of divided a bit the product in the product to do ceramic material and the product suitable to do carbon composite elements that have to withstand very high temperature.
And Andrea, at which point of the development of your company did that happen? Because I think the company has been around for kind of 14 years, more or less. So how old was the company at this stage?
It was around 2017. It was.
So yeah, okay. So it was you had some experience already, but were you intimidated? Was Formula One your first big customer, or did you have similar experiences before that?
Probably yes. We had to deal with some other big company, but that was the first one where we had kind of worked very closely for a few months because we were giving to them material and they were giving us feedback. This is good, this is not good, you can do make this better for us. And so it was not just a chat with very big company and then nothing happened, or just you sign NDA, you start a project and then the project goes nowhere, because with big companies sometimes project is related to that person. If that person goes away, quit the
You
company,
lose the deal.
sometimes the project is just stopped, forgotten. And so this time we went from the start to the end, and also with the timing of Formula One. So week by week, day by day. And this was very exciting.
Wow. Andrea, huge compliments because like this is probably one of the most important clients that you have, I imagine. It's very impressive. I'm also a huge fan of Formula One. Yeah, knowing that they are using something so innovative really is very inspiring. We were also curious to know what was the moment where, for example, you said, "Oh my God, everything is going to an end. Like this is the worst moment. We're not gonna make it." Maybe you didn't have it, or
Now
maybe you did. We wanted to know a little bit more about it.
there have been a lot, at least a few of them. When we started, I was very happy and excited because we won this first prize at the business plan competition. There are nice stories about this, but maybe I don't want to bother you too much. But when we won, we were kind of at the center of the attention of all the, let's say, entrepreneur of the Marche region. We were called from the even, let's say, politician, from everyone. Oh, very good initiative, we should start. I know this person, I know this entrepreneur. But in the end, as always, not always, but often happens, you are like a falling star. In the sense that, okay, you did a great job with the business plan. You want to start a company, but there were one mistake made by us that we were very, very, I can say, motivated, but we had not experience at that time in this business. And this is something that is not good for investor. The other error is that by winning just 50,000 euro at that time, you can even not open a bar. You cannot open a very
That's
technological, high-tech company in nanomaterial. So after a while, we were talking with some investor that was some, let's say, kind of family office of private fund. And he was saying to us, this is too much early stage for us. And you want to spend too much money. Give us a second version of the business plan with the less spend. And I was too much honest at that time. So if I spend less, I have less seller, less resource and so on, I will also gain less. And they were saying after 2-3 months working, they were saying like this, we are not doing enough money. And they said, if we don't spend, if we don't invest, I cannot promise you to do billion in few years. And then there was a moment when we started to understand we were not able to attract fundings from venture capitalist banks and so on. And so we start to say what we should do. We have this money that are not enough to open a bar, and we should do a nanotech company. And so I said, okay, we have to try. What we can do with those money, we can do a minimum valuable product, probably a patent, and probably get the first customer. Let's try. And so we started. It was very hard in the beginning because we had to count the single cent. But then we started to have a first little family of products. The first customer, the one who was doing the kite surf. And then we started to find the first investors, the first business angel. So this was a moment we were kind of thinking about even not starting. Another moment was when we started to look for investors. It was very difficult. It was close to the moment when we understood that we probably would have even not able to start, because then when we had the first product, the first customer was still for the majority of the Italian stakeholders that are very adverse to risk against other European stakeholders, was still not enough. So we had to search and search until we find our business angel, thanks to one of my friends that come back from its period of study abroad and said, maybe I know someone that can be interested. And then just for casualty, we get funded from an investor.
You got lucky. Yeah, it actually should be super difficult to convince that something so small, so tiny can make big money, right? So how do you pitch usually your investors?
Yes, this is one of the most difficult part also because in nanotechnology have been kind of, I can say, a moment that was a very, very common word, nanotechnology. Now, there were a lot of expectation, but a few technology were delivered because in technology there is a hype, then there is a kind of startup, a death valley, and then slowly from academia, some technology starting to go out and reach the market. And so we were in that stage, we started in that stage where the technology was not delivering what was promising. And so the investors were even investors, but also companies we want to work for. They said, we tried, but was not working, but we think that now we should invest more in ICT business, and so on. And so it was very difficult. So to convince people, we had to let them talk also with some of our customers. We had to let them know that we were already selling something, and we had to find someone with a much higher risk attitude. Then, thanks to them, we started to find also other funds, because then when you get funded the first time, then it's much easier. I do not say that it's easy, but it's easier because someone has already, I can say, spreaded the risk more. And so another investor will invest and risk just part of this because will not be the sole investor in the company. And so this is something that is, I can say, is an inertia that once you start, then it's more difficult to stop you.
Yeah.
And the first investor is super hard to convince.
Now, I just want to remark this because I think it's important to highlight the fact that let's just get the scene right. So in 2008, there is a global financial crisis, and Italy's startup ecosystem is basically non-existent yet. And you decided, hey, let's launch Nanotech company. Investors weren't exactly lining up in Milan back then, I imagine. How did you just find the courage to start the company, to bring your first co-founder on board with you? How did that go?
Probably I was just younger and
A little bit insane.
less wise than now.
Okay,
This is
okay. Well,
the honest answer. Because
that played in your favor.
thinking about it now, it's also true that when you are younger, you think you have all the time of the world. You think you will never be old. You think you can do everything. Because now, when you start to have a lot of different things to do, you start to have a family, you start to have something, a lot of other things. You value your time much more. So now, if I'm founding another company or I'm doing something different, I already know all the mistakes I did, all the mistakes we did, what would have been much better if we started in the other way. And then I start something if already see a business, so that you become, I can say, you don't want to lose your time learning, but you want to capitalize what you have already learned in the past.
Yes,
So
and
we were kind of unconscious at that time.
yes, no, it makes sense. You were a little bit crazy. So
Yes.
let's put it that way. And what is one of those mistakes that you mentioned that you will not do in your next business, for example? Like a
I
lesson
think
learned.
I write a book on this.
Okay, give us the best
I
three,
don't
the
know
best
even
three.
where to start, but starting from the beginning is that you don't only have to you have to have a vision, what you want to do, where you want to be, but this is not enough. You have to build your company, your story. You have to be helped if you don't have all the competencies, and you have to build a strong team to do this. One of the mistake was to start something very, now I can say I'm one of the expert in the field. Okay. But at that time, I was learning. I was learning fast, but I was learning. I was no one. Now I have some scientific paper publication. I have patents. When I'm going around, I'm much more. My credibility is much more than before. But when you just start, you say, I will become one of the best in doing this. But you are still no one is going to give you credits. I don't know, maybe in USA or some other country, they value more your attitude than your experience. But in a lot of places, they want they value more the experience than the attitude, probably. And I think you have to have a good mix of both. Good attitude, but experience is something that make people trust you more. And so it's more easy to be funded, it's more easy to start, it's more easy to be, I can say, to be trusted by your customer. So this is one of the biggest mistake, but it's not because it's a mistake in absolute sense. It's because then you will take into account that you need extra time
Yes, of
in the
course.
market.
So
Yeah, Andrea, I have one curiosity about like the future of the company. So we analyzed like the best moment, we analyzed the worst moment, but what is actually your vision for the future, like for both for you and the companies? Are we talking, I don't know, about like Iron Man suits, smart clothes? What should we be expecting for the first?
So this is very very easy question actually for me. I always imagine a nanotech as a, let's say, a small multinational company, a boutique to give the best material for the hardest challenges to industrial leader that want to go beyond the what is possible to do today. And I'm pursuing with the team. We are pursuing this. One big thing that happened last year is that we won an European Innovation Grant because the European community said that one of our materials is probably a disruptive technology. Disruptive technology in the aerospace market. Why? Because we have a class of materials that are very good in resisting fire. And this is something that is a feature that if you are doing aeronautic interiors, so the seats, the luggage compartments, and so on, the material have to withstand fire because you are flying and it's very, very dangerous. And this material was recognized as one of the best that can substitute more toxic and difficult to use material in the aeronautic sector. So we won this prize. Now we are developing this class of material. We already have to build some demonstrator for companies that want to do, for example, a lithium-ion battery case for electric airplane, interior seats of big companies operating in the aerospace market. What gives me motivation is that I'm not just doing cool things like Formula One, but I'm doing something that is useful for the majority of people because we are doing a material that is safer, that is probably lighter, that will allow the constructor of airplane to have something that is less toxic, less dangerous, and will give more safety. And probably we are also studying this, will even be more recyclable than the material used today. The fulfillment of one of my dreams is to do something useful for someone else. And so if we manage to, we even get the certification for the aerospace sector. But if we manage to develop this material as we are doing, seems in a good way till now, in a few years, our material will probably be around a lot of airplanes flying around the world.
Incredible. And we wish you the best of luck for this long-term vision. Not too long-term. Like, I wish you to achieve this amazing goal very soon, actually. And Andrea, so we actually are at the end of our episode, and the question that we always ask at the end to our guests is, what gives you momentum? What keeps you going? Right, every day in your job, in your in your personal life as well. What gives you momentum?
Yeah, what motivates you?
I think that I always try to set goal ahead of me in the personal life, in the sports, and also in the work. So, for example, I'm going to do a Spartan race a few days from now, just because I don't want to train just to be trained. I want to achieve something to understand what are my limits. And the same is at work. At work, we started saying, okay, we will bring our materials in the aerospace, and we are doing this. So what motivated me is to wake up and to say, okay, today we are going further to do a demonstrator that will fly. Today we are going further in order to build the material for the next airplane seats. If you are just going around, you don't set up a goal, you will feel more tired, you will feel less keen to do things. And when you will have something going wrong that happens every day, you will just, I can say, you will take this as a big mistake, something that led your motivation down. And I always try to keep my motivation high because I have that goal that I want to try to reach.
And I love that you casually said that you're gonna do a Spartan race a few days from now. You have your own company. You also have the time to do such a challenging race. So huge congrats, and I wish you the best of luck on that too as well.
Thank you.
And thank you so much, Andrea, for being with us. It's been, I think, a very interesting and inspiring episode for our audience and for us personally. So I'm really glad that you spent some time with us today.
Yeah, thank you so much, Andrea. I would like stay on this call forever, probably because I still have so many questions. Maybe we take it as a chance to invite you one more time in the future. Like this, you can maybe tell us about your progress, about your future successes, which we wish you with all our heart, and we are pretty sure that you're gonna achieve them. Consider how goal-oriented you are, I'm sure that this is not only on paper, but it will also be there in the company's life and your personal life. So thank you
Thank
so
you
much
very
for
much.
being with us. It was a real pleasure.